A common critique of Steven Universe, a lot of people have always felt from the very beginning that a lot of issues in Steven Universe is just resolved with talking. That no matter what happens, Steven will talk it out. And, I mean, it's true. I never really viewed it as a bad thing, but I can see why it gets tiring after a while. So, what does the Crew Universe decide to do? What or who is the perfect match to Steven's kind-hearted nature? Well, we finally have our answer. That answer is White Diamond. Welcome back to Crystal Clear on the Roundtable. I'm Oshrik Vox, and let's talk about White Diamond. After being in the shadows for 2 years, we first saw her mural over 2 years ago in the episode Could Have Been Great. That was the first concrete evidence of her existence. The diamond who has the most authority, the most colonies, the one who's above all the rest. And so far, she seems to be everything everyone imagined her to be. All of that and a lot more. From what we can deduce thus far, White Diamond is the perfect antagonist for Steven Universe. I mean, unless she gets redeemed and then... Anyways, up until this point in the series, White Diamond has never been mentioned. But when Steven brings Yellow and Blue to kill corruption, they come to the conclusion they cannot do this alone, and that they need her. Steven wonders, who's her? And he gets his answer. The Diamond of All, the Master of Masters. Someone whose temper even intimidates Yellow Diamond, the fourth and final diamond. Someone who theorized to be the oldest gem in existence. White Diamond. She's finally here. Only one episode after the diamonds face off with the crystal gems and discover that Steven, Rose Quartz, is and was actually Pink Diamond. I never thought we would see her this soon. A name drop was inevitable, but actually going to Homeworld and seeing her was on a completely different level. What makes her the perfect antagonist for Steven Universe? First off, not only does everyone treat her with an air of tension and mystery, Pearl saying she's not like any of the other gems, not even like any of the other diamonds, already sends a very chilling impression. It already sets up that narratively, getting her to undo corruption will not be an easy task. Yellow Diamond tells Steven that he's better off letting her do all the talking unless he wants to be in a bubble for millennia. Yellow Diamond, someone who we can infer has, alongside Blue Diamond, spent the most time with White out of anyone else, is assuming that White Diamond's approach to the situation will be violence. That will be her method of discipline. And then when we get to Homeworld, alright, when I saw people tweeting at Comic-Con Homeworld was destroyed, I thought the city itself, the landscape would be devastated. No! The planet is split into pieces! Who did this? White Diamond! Forget Yellow, forget Blue, we're dealing with a Planet Buster tier villain. The only thing still in one piece about the planet is its rings. We arrive on Homeworld, and what do we arrive to? Cheering, forming the original diamond insignia, all the gems are praising, celebrating that Pink Diamond has returned, but it's immediately cut by the arrival of White Pearl. White Diamond's Pearl was enough to silence thousands upon thousands of gems. What? White Diamond's Pearl was enough to intimidate Yellow and Blue, to speak over them. So after most of this episode, building up to the debut of White Diamond, after most of this episode just spent time establishing that she's immensely powerful, split the planet into pieces on some Sonic Unleashed type-ish, that she'll be hard to reason with, that Yellow and Blue will be lucky to even talk to her after this whole entire debacle, White Pearl brings Steven to White Diamond, and oh my God. Her design is literally that of a Greek goddess. Yellow Diamond, Blue Diamond, Pink Diamond, their designs pale in comparison. This is what I think of when I hear Elite Gem. She's literally radiating. You can't even see her gemstone, which is there. Rebecca Sugar illustrated White Diamond onto Comic-Con posters. She has a gemstone. And after all this build-up of this intimidating threat, it gets creepy. Is she violent? Does she sound angry? No, she's smiling. She's speaking calmly. She refers to Steven or Pink Diamond as Starlight, using pet nicknames. But that's just it. Everything Steven says, he tries to make an introduction. He tries to somewhat explain himself. All shut down. It doesn't even matter. White Diamond just dismisses it. White Diamond refers to Blue Diamond's thousands of years of grief. Homeworld completely changing to a new era as a little scare. That's what all this Universe was to her, if that does not sum up not only how old she is, how ancient she is, that all of that time is just viewed as a little scare, but also as detached from everything she is, how emotionally distant she is, then nothing else will. She refers to everything as playtime, as Pink's little game, begging for a colony, the Gem War, faking her shattering, the birth of Steven, everything that's happened since the beginning of the show. Every single thing has been nothing more than a game in White Diamond's eyes. That says a lot about White Goddamn Diamond. And once again, before Steven can even get a word in edgewise, White Diamond sends Steven to what we can assume to be Pink Diamond's original room, leaving Steven trapped on Homeworld because I don't think getting out will be an easy feat. White Diamond is the personification of the evil stepmother trope times 10! So out of all of that, one thing in particular makes her the perfect Stevenverse villain. It's not her power level, it's her personality, or even lack thereof. Her playful nature, everything, her demeanor, what makes White Diamond the perfect Steven Universe villain is that she's emotionally detached. She's distant from all of this. She's above all of this. This is something a lot of people speculated would be the case for a while, and everyone who speculated this, give yourselves a round of applause. I want to hear applause. Steven has always been able to solve problems by communicating and appealing to the emotions of his enemies. He can no longer do that. The Cluster, he got through to them. He saw they were hurting. The Diamonds, he saw they were hurting. White Diamond, do you see any hurt in her eyes? Do you hear any hurt in her voice? Everything she says was inhuman. And yeah, while the gems aren't actually human, they pretty much are. She's someone who's dismissive, and judging by her pearl, although I do believe something particular is up with that pearl was also dismissive of the other diamonds. White Diamond is not someone who factors in emotion about the feelings of another. Everything the crystal gems, Garnet, and Bismuth said the diamonds were, White Diamond truly is. Now, the website IO9 gave us a taste of just how sinister White Diamond can be. For those of you who don't know, they're a new media site. I believe they're tied to the AV Club, and just like the Geekery, they have reviews of Steven Universe. They get to see these episodes early with press copies. I wish we could get press copies. Insert 10,000 comments about how we would just make theories on things that we know happens. Guys, we wouldn't do that. Anyways, after Steven Universe, the movie was announced at Comic-Con, IO9's article went up, and there's some very interesting teases related to White Diamond. Steven Universe creator Rebecca Sugar and the rest of the Crystal Gems came to this year's San Diego Comic-Con with an all-new episode of Steven Universe, teasing what's in store for Steven and the next arc of their epic adventures. And well, the last of the Diamonds, and her Princess Leia-inspired Pearl, is finally going to make her long-teased debut. While Blue and Yellow Diamond have been framed as the most terrifying villains Steven and the Gems might ever face, White Diamond makes the two of them seem like mini-bosses by comparison. Her destructive power, it turns out, might have been what caused the destruction on Homeworld. Plus, unlike the other Diamonds, she has an objectively violent, abusive relationship with her Pearl. Trust us, the next few episodes of Steven Universe are going to blow your mind. So right there, they confirm White Diamond abuses her Pearl. The missing eye, the scarring, that's all more than likely from White Diamond. If Yellow and Blue like mini-bosses compared to her, you guys should be very excited yet very afraid for these upcoming episodes. I know I am. Just imagine, Homeworld was ravaged by this smiling, happy-go-lucky sociopath. Yeah, let me back up for a minute. We have only seen her for a few minutes, but this is everything I've deduced and surmised from it. This is White Diamond. This is the perfect antagonist. Steven, good luck changing her mind. Get ready to pull up one hell of a fight. Garnet, Amethyst, Pearl, Connie, you're going to need more than them. You may even need more than Yellow and Blue. For the first time, crying, singing, talking things out may not be enough. And yes, while we do know this is likely going to end and White Diamond being allied with the rest of the Diamonds, with Steven, with the Crystal Gems, and undoing corruption, it's going to be one hell of a journey there. And at the end of the day, isn't it about the journey and not the destination? And just saying, we still know her contribution to corruption, but going off what we speculated before, the safest bet is mind control. Imagine that. Maybe it's not even mind control in the traditional sense. Maybe it's stripping a gem of their emotions entirely. But as always, these are just my thoughts, and I love to hear yours. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below, or tweet them directly to me at OstricFox, or at The Roundtable on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Roundtable Vids. If you want to help the Roundtable Girls, support us on Patreon. Get access to exclusive perks and every name featured at the end of the video like all these beautiful, wonderful people. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and if you're new here, subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications, stay in the loop with all things Steven. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. OstricFox, out. The true Gem War is here.